Today's Diana Prince is Carlyn Bushman. Carlyn is a seasoned entrepreneur with over 30 years' experience in marketing, management, and technology experience. She's a devoted wife and mother of four, and the powerhouse behind Carlyn Bushman Consulting and Pop Academy. Carlyn is truly passionate about empowering female entrepreneurs, helping them build successful businesses with innovative solutions. She also fosters future business leaders as an advisory council member at the Arizona State University. Carlyn's dedication truly shines through in her work and how she inspires others to achieve their business dreams. Carlyn, welcome to Diana Prince.
It is so wonderful to be here. I am so excited about this, despite it's taken us a little bit to get here. And as we discussing
But
on, yes,
it's all part of life, right?
trusting the process, as they say.
Exactly. And I am excited about our conversation today because as a new entrepreneur, you bring two great themes to the table that are near and dear to my heart. And I can't wait to get your insights on them. One of which is the startup journey. And you have something that you call the burn is real. And man, did I felt that one when I read it. And it's how entrepreneurs burn through cash and burn themselves out as they're building their businesses. I can certainly relate to that, as I say, and I say it again. I felt it in the last couple of years, especially. I'm wondering from your standpoint, obviously the coach who's helping entrepreneurs build these businesses, how frequent does that happen and why does it happen?
Such a great question and so much to unpack with that. If you think about it, I mean, a lot of times we hear that it's seasonal, and it's really interesting that we are diving into your season 3, right? Or we're diving into the next season from a calendar standpoint or the next season of our business. And so often, honestly, I don't think there's a great cadence or playbook when the burn can happen. It happens to me. Even just recently, I looked at my upcoming schedule for 2025 and I think, when am I going to do all the work that I want to do? And wait, why am I working so hard? I don't know if that happens. But sometimes you feel like, what is this all for? And you have to just pause and go back to what they would say is your why.
Yeah. I felt it. I don't know if, but I came out of corporate. So I had a huge learning curve on the marketing side and understand that you are have 30 years experience in marketing, but holy shit, that thing was like the hardest and it consumed a whole year of my entrepreneurship, just learning and leaning into it. And it's I'm going to turn myself into a marketing guru as opposed to the one that wants to like just be icked about it. And I believe I've done that, but it was definitely something that pretty much consumed a whole year of my business. Pretty much was hard. But the other thing is I was doing everything by myself. I pretty much learned how to do all the aspects of my business, right? From social media, SEO, like every leg of marketing that you can imagine, I was learning it myself. Just to tell you my backstory on that is that I felt that I couldn't even delegate it because I didn't know what the heck I would be delegating. So just your insight on that. I mean, is that the usual story or is that unusual?
No, that is so typical. And I think giving ourselves
Okay,
grace to
good.
just own that. I mean, of course. And like you, I came out of corporate too, and I started a product-based business, right? I went into consulting first. And then,
Mhm.
because that was natural for me, because I knew that industry. It was in the medical space, and I knew that industry. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I'm just going to start a product based business. How hard can that be? I was in corporate. I knew different levers. I knew some of the language, right? The language of the business and the financials and things like that. Oh my gosh. So hard. I had no idea. And like you, learning the marketing and as you referenced the SEO and things, and it's constantly changing. I can hardly keep up with it. Right when I think I know it,
Mhm.
I don't know it. And then I know it, and then I don't know
Yeah.
it. It's all about what you referred to, and that's educating yourself, right? And
Mhm.
continuously learning, which is so healthy for all of us anyway, is to step in and constantly challenge our minds. And you're in the right space when it feels a little uncomfortable. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly where you're supposed to be.
You have to. feel I could say a lot about that, right? And there's a quote that David Bowie had that I literally go to every time because I always need to go to it. It says, I'm not going to remember it right now. And I thought it was in front of me, but it's not. So I'm going to bypass that, but it's a great one. And we'll just leave it at that. So, yeah, so basically, maybe we can get a little bit of your backstory while we're on. What inspired you to focus? You're leaving corporate. What inspired you to focus on helping female entrepreneurs to grow their businesses?
Oh, such a good question. And I have a tendency to say that a lot because I get asked so many good questions. So forgive me if I constantly say that, but it's true. It's the statistics. I really was digging into, and there's some interesting statistics that have come out of USC and some of the other reputable sources regarding female entrepreneurs and the growth or lack of female entrepreneurs in the space. And it really moved me to really dedicate my time and energy in that space because the statistics are not great. The statistics of women starting their own businesses, amazing. Congratulations. It's so wonderful to see that and for all of these incredibly talented women to take a chance and to get out there and do the thing, which is entrepreneurship, right?
Mm.
On the heels of that, the burn is real, like we said, and
Yeah,
burning through cash and burnout and why am I doing this happens so fast, so much that women hitting six figures in their business on top line revenue is less than 10%. So even getting to that six figures, it's less than 10. And a dear colleague of mine just shared with me that the numbers are even going in the wrong direction. I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think more women are stepping into entrepreneurship. So that might be one reason. But on the heels of that, hitting 500, half a million in top line sales, the numbers start to diminish really fast, like less than 5 to 3%. And then any women making over $1 million in top line sales is less than 1%. And
right. So not
mhm,
even at the 500,000 mark, it's only 10% of women that make that.
less than
And diminish
five.
okay. Oh my gosh.
We don't
I
think
didn't know
about
that.
that, right? Because we're surrounded with these really incredibly talented women who are putting all this time, money, and effort into growing their business. So we surround, and that momentum starts to carry us. And instead of going into comparison syndrome, which is so easy to do, we
Mhm.
lean on each other. And how are you doing that? How did you get there? Who do you know? All the really good things about networking, right? As we can reference often, as you and I met just through the similar circumstances. So when I looked at that, I thought, okay, what is the real root of this happening? Money, access to capital, 100%, of course.
Mm.
Second, though, is education. And I really am getting into the details of the education, just like what you referenced. You don't have to learn all this by yourself. You don't have to necessarily
Mhm.
spend 12 to 18 months understanding all of this. And you also don't have to feel like you're paying so much to outsource it and you don't even know the questions to ask. That I did that. I
Yeah.
outsourced so much of my marketing and social media management and all of that in my product based business. I didn't even know the questions to ask. And I burned through so much money, so much.
So let's stop right there because that is exactly where right there where you landed is where I wanted to go. Because in my first year, I had coaches, I had mentors, and that's where a lot of the cash was going through. And because when I was in corporate, I was great. I had a salary and I could sustain that. But once I left and I had to go out and get a marketing firm, the delegation piece was very key to me. And I knew that there were some pieces that I'm never going to figure out. To give you a story is that some background is that I did hire a marketing firm. And even though I have to really thank my corporate job because I went into that contract and I redlined the shit out of it because
Amazing.
it wasn't really enforceable, right? So I redlined the shit out of it. But that's the only thing that saved my ass, Carlin, because I got nothing at the end. The only thing I got was the ability to walk away from that contract because the deliverables weren't met. But in the end, it was like literally a couple of months worth of something that became very clear wasn't even achievable to me because I went into it naive thinking this is a marketing firm. They're going to know whether this is achievable or not. It's not. It actually isn't in hindsight. And I was so naive about it. So the burn every time I go in to hire somebody right now, that the burn of that money that got nothing and other items that go into trying to make those right decisions became a real stress point for me because I don't how many shoots do I have to do to cover this? It's great, but you're at a point where you're making the investment and not necessarily getting the return on it yet. The burn is real. And coming out of let's from your standpoint, was there any particular experience that you were sensitive on when you went in on your own, where you experienced the burn
Well,
of money?
oh, 100%. And Angela, I love that you you took your experience, and you didn't feel like you were backed into a corner to sign the contract without looking through the details. I love that. I think so often we feel like, okay, I better do this right now. Okay, hurry up and do it. No, you will save so much time, money, energy, stress, headache, all the things in doing what exactly you did. And that is taking the time to do that, right? Taking the time to go through it. So I want to point that out that entrepreneurs out there,
Mhm.
don't feel like if you don't know the answer, stay curious, ask the questions. It's better to ask. Don't feel like
Yeah.
you have to know it.
I didn't ask a lot of questions with other shit because I'm like, they're a marketing firm. They're going to know so much more than me. And I had no questions. But the contract, I was just able to lean on what I already knew. And it's funny because here's the thing, Carlin, that person doesn't always show up where it's needed, right? Because you're in transition. You've got so many facets of you, but which version of you is going to fucking show up where you need them to show up, right? And it was that contract sat in my email with me, like almost just signing it because the Angela who used to review contracts for a major corporation, like literally 10 a week, she was gone. All of a sudden I woke up and I'm like, let me look at this. I leaned into it. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. But I would have just signed it because as an entrepreneur, there's certain strengths that we have, certain weaknesses that we have. And that was my only strength at that particular point. And I'm glad that person showed up to that particular agreement because I could tell you I wasn't in a point, like I don't know where she conjured up from, but she came through for that version of me came through for me. But she wasn't necessarily present because that first year was just a blur. Everything was a blur. I didn't know who the heck I was that first year and what parts of me were going to come into this next phase of my life.
Well, and I love the vulnerability that you're discussing here because I think we all can relate to that. And I think
Mhm.
that really, like, for you to just say, that first year was a blur. I'm right there with you. That first year,
Mhm.
2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. I still have blurs, by the way. I still have blurs.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
mean,
thank you.
the blurs
Thanks for
are the blurs yeah, the blurs happen. It's so interesting because I teach to me, education, like I referenced earlier, is so important to me. I just want to give you the tools to understand how to make decisions inside of your business.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
really do, and I pour so much into that because if that can be the impact, then that's what I wanna do, is I wanna serve in that space, and a lot of it comes down to money and financials and understanding
Yeah.
financials. And that is when you asked about the blur and practicing the financial acumen inside of my own business, I can teach it all day long. I can talk about it. I can help you with yours. And then sometimes I I don't do that for myself. It's just as if you have this skill set in whatever that might be, interior design as an example, or contracting, or any of these beautiful talented industries. And you go and you look at your desk. My desk does not look like the way I would teach in my class necessarily all the
Right.
time. It's real. It's real, right? So the same thing. So to your example, I really educate on the financials, and my product-based business did not show up with the Carlin who is really wise from corporate in financials. I don't know where she went. She decided not to show up. I bought too much inventory. I thought it was all going to sell the first day I launched it. I launched it all at one time. I mean, how many things did I need to teach myself at that moment? Like, where was she? Hold up. So yeah, same. Exactly. I didn't price my products
Yeah.
correctly. What was happening? I don't even know what happened. She left the building for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All of a sudden, like, oh, I'm a photographer. Let me just sign this contract. And I'm like, no, you're not. You got other talents and it has blended in really nicely, but it wasn't necessarily there for me. It was just all of a sudden I took on this other identity and dumped all the other shit I knew. And but now things are a little bit blended in, but contracts are important, people. Contracts are important. Make sure things are enforceable and that you know what your deliverables are. I want to ask you one thing because in your introduction, I mentioned the Pop Academy. So I want you to give me a little bit of backstory. Is it Pop, P-O-P? Am I saying it right? Or is it just P-O-P or Pop?
It's pop, and
You tell me about it.
it's pop, and again, this goes to my dedication for education. So, POP Academy stands for Progress Over Perfection, and that's
Oh,
really where it came from, progress over perfection. Hey, we don't know all the answers all the time. Guess what? It's totally fine. Who cares? Ask the questions, right? Stay curious. I think that's
yeah,
gonna be my word for 2025, by
and
the
you will
way.
get burned, but you're gonna learn something.
How many times have we heard all of these successful business people say failure is part of the process, right? Making mistakes, learning through it. It's true. Now, if we can mitigate some of the mistakes and learn from others so that we don't have the mistakes that maybe are so costly, like you referenced reading the contract, can we read the contract and look at it? I don't think other individuals and businesses, for the most part, are out there to burn us, right? I don't think that's the
No. Yeah.
case. I do think it is up to us to take the responsibility to stay curious and ask the questions when we don't understand something, whether it's in a contract, an agreement, in an interview with a manufacturer, with a coach or consultant. I think it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay to ask questions if you don't understand. And I think that we feel as seasoned individuals in our spaces that is shown as a weakness. And it has taken me a long time to understand that is not a weakness. I
It's
have
not, yeah.
asked more questions in the last 2 years than I probably ever did during a chunk of my career. And I really wish I would have learned that a decade ago or more.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what are some key strategies that you teach in the academy?
Yeah, it's 2 semesters a year, just like a college. It's set up just like a college semester. I do I'm an adjunct faculty professor at Arizona State University. So this is geared towards entrepreneurs who are not gonna go back to the university setting to get a degree in entrepreneurship or business or
Okay, wait a minute. Is there such a thing?
yes. Oh, yes, you can get I teach in the School of Business in their entrepreneurship program. Yes, it's a thing now. I never knew
I
that.
missed it.
I'm
I missed it at Rutgers.
Yes, exactly. Exactly the same thing, and it's really
Wow.
surfaced, and it's fascinating what is being taught, and it's fascinating to see the excitement in the students about this as an opportunity, and bringing real world experience into the classroom is really exciting because I get really great questions. So I take the curriculum and I really gear it towards entrepreneurs who are not gonna go back to university setting for this particular a degree program necessarily. And the strategies, it's very structured. And the strategies start with you talk about your company, your leadership, your what are your company strategies for that particular year and or second half of the year, wherever it falls. Again, it's 2 semesters a year, a spring and a fall, just like college. And it's every week and there's homework and it's chapters and all the things. And we really talk through that. We talk through product development. We talk through manufacturing. We talk through marketing, all of those things. But we also weave in there all of your financials at
Okay.
every point in your
You
business.
can't avoid your financials in
You
there.
have to know your numbers with whatever
Yeah.
decision you're making. You have to know your numbers. And to your point, just like you said, what are the deliverables? What's the expected return on investment? Understand that and ask those questions.
In terms of the commitment for the Academy, would it be a good program for an entrepreneur with an existing business or one that is just starting out? I'm just wondering, how would an entrepreneur weave in the timeline necessary for the curriculum?
So, yes, great question. It's the fundamentals of business, and that's pop. Basically, it's like a 101. So, I have pre launch students in there or pre launch entrepreneurs in there, and then I have seasoned entrepreneurs in there. And I would say, for the most part, it is somebody who's been in business and they're just getting started. And I also have students who have been in business for 5, 6, 7 years that would like to get regrounded in their business to set the strategy to grow their business. Because as you might understand, the first few years, you feel like man, I'm on the right track. Friends and family are buying my product or services. I'm surrounded with people who are so supportive. Everybody loves me. They're gifting my products. They're doing all these things. And then literally, and it depends on your business, but 3 to 5 years, oh my gosh, now I have to get out and market to strangers. Now I have to keep the momentum going. Now I have
Yeah.
to make decisions on my time. Do I hire team? Do I change manufacturers? You're like, oh my gosh. And now my revenues are plateauing and I don't know exactly what to do. And then you get where you have a little growth and then it plateaus again. And that goes back to what we said in the beginning. Those are seasons in your business. How
Mhm.
can you stay on top of those? And that's what Pop Academy does. It gives you the tools to recognize and know what to do in your next phase of business. So it's really good that way.
Okay, last question. Is it online?
It is. Great question.
Awesome. So, growing the business. Now, as I mentioned, I did the marketing thing and everything like that, and I shared my experience in hiring to handle part of the marketing piece. How do you find the right humans to grow your business? How do you here's before we jump into that, because when you're in the first year of your business, and maybe I was just really naive, more naive than typical, but you don't know what you don't know. And the one thing that I could say from that bad experience is that now I know what the heck to ask. And now I'm a few years into it. And my gosh, the questions that I would ask when I'm hiring a firm are, I got 20 of them, 20 of them. That'll never happen to me again. But when you're in the first year, you just don't know what you don't know. So can we bring that? So this is what I'm trying to sue is can your response be catered to that person that just launched and how to be cautious on who they hire and what they need to look for?
Yes.
How do you hire the right human?
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways, and it really depends on your business. Pop Academy is very small. I have very small class sizes because it's very
Mhm.
bespoke. So, to your question, I would literally be asking you, okay, tell me what you've done, what's worked, what hasn't, right? And where you want to go in your business. What are you looking for? So, as a great example, I have a client. She's been in business since 2017. And this year, like right now, the latter half of 24, where as we're talking today, she is now just considering outsourcing her entire digital marketing, right? So it's
Okay.
been 7 years and she has not wanted to pull the trigger for a lot of reasons, financial being number
Very
one.
good. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Great time. She is putting out requests for contracts and we are developing a set of questions as it relates to her business, 7 years in the business, where she expects to go, what she expects to accomplish, and how that particular firm can help her. And we're asking like very detailed. And so in her example, we're talking about ambassadors and affiliates and paid
Mhm.
advertising and what's the landscape of the paid advertising and what does all of that mean on all the acronyms. And I'm not going to dig into those, but that's one example. Then you go,
Okay.
so you have to really decide where you are in your business. If you're pre-launch, what does a go-to-market strategy look like for you? Okay, that's
You don't
very
know.
specific. Exactly. Exactly. So many of us are in that
You
space.
don't
I
know
don't
people, so be cautious about where you're spending your cash.
Yes, please watch your number of subscriptions, watch all the platform
Shit,
costs.
I could fucking talk about that too, and everything. Yeah, it is literally it is like you have holes in your pockets because you need everything and you don't know exactly what you need, so you're gonna try everything.
Try every
Exactly.
all at one time and set yourself up. If you do nothing else, set up a schedule for yourself quarterly to review all your tech platforms and the costs of those subscriptions and put the renewal dates. If they're monthly, that's easy. But if they're annual, put those renewal dates. I look at my tech platforms once a quarter, and this may sound really small, but you'd be surprised how many times you're like, yeah, free trial. Oh, 9.99 a month, 10.99 a month,
Well, I
129.
like that. I really am happy you said that because I did that not only with tech platforms, but community fees. And a lot of the times you do sign up for a community and you're not even utilizing their services. You're just, that piles up. Technology piles up. What else? Let's just put it on the list. It's all that money is going out the door. And if you're not utilizing and leveraging it for your business, it's wasted capital that you can be saving for a resource that you actually need when the time is right.
Exactly. So let me give you just a financial benchmark for anybody who
Whoa.
doesn't know where to start with that. All of that stuff we just talked about outside of labor, so outside of paying yourself, or if you have contractors or whatever, all that stuff, try to keep it at 30% or less of your sales number. Okay. So, of your sales number. So, whatever your sales number is, keep your stuff costs at 30% or less. That is really a
Okay.
great benchmark.
So what about the mindset that says this is an investment? I don't necessarily have the sales right now. What would you say to the person that keeps saying that to themselves every time they're going to go pluck in
That's gonna
some
put pressure on your sales, right? So, what I would
Mhm.
do is if you're gonna pay $10,000 for an investment, and that's fine, an investment in you and the company, whatever the case is, then go ahead and extrapolate that out over 12 months and understand what are your benchmarks to get your sales number lined up behind by the 8th, ninth, 10th, 11th month. Are you firing on all cylinders where that monthly cost of that investment now is starting to align with that 30% goal? So in the beginning, you're going to look out of sync on that number. As you work through whatever timeline it is, look at what that is. So this year as an example,
Yeah.
I've really made investments back into my company to build this education that I found is so critical to businesses. I knew that going into 2024, and I had to let go that my numbers are going to be a little off this year. Okay. Okay. I have a plan.
Mhm.
Investment smart. What's the return on my investment? Yes, it's risky, but now the pressure is also on me in a good way to really make it what it needs to be, not just half ass it.
Correct. Correct. I like that. And okay, so then let's move on to let's say an entrepreneur that is now a few years in business. How many years have you been in business, Carlin?
A long time. This version is
I
since
should remember it from your
it's
it's
fine.
escaping me
Since
right now.
serving only women is started in 2020.
In 2020. Okay. Okay, so you niched down
I
in
kept niching, I
2020.
kept niching, I
Got it.
kept
You kept
niching. Yes.
niching, yeah. So 20 all right. So you've been in it for about 4 years, at least in this particular niche, and I've been in it I launched in 2018, but nothing actually happened for a while. So let's just say I'm a few years in, and obviously I'm doing a lot of learning, you're doing a lot of learning. When does that stop, if ever, for entrepreneurs or business owners? Does that ever plateau?
The learning,
The learning piece, the learning curve.
it's up to you. I mean, really, it's up to you. I think it depends how much growth you want in your business. We all have different lifestyles.
Mhm.
So I don't think the learning ever stops. What I do think is our lifestyle choices play a role in this. And it depends if you are looking to grow, scale, sell, all of those things. That's a different learning curve and a different set of goals and objectives you're going to follow. If you're looking to really maintain your existing book of business, whatever that looks like, and
Mhm.
create a lifestyle that's different for you, whether that is taking time off to travel, taking time off for family, taking time off for yourself, whatever that looks like, then your learning is going to be coming how to become more efficient. So you can do that while
Ah,
maintaining your
yeah.
same revenue goals or supporting your lifestyle.
Mhm.
Right. So the learning is a little bit different. Some are up and to the right and want to scale as fast as they can to with the intent of selling their business. Some entrepreneurs are loving what they do. They want to become more efficient at what they do so they can dedicate more time and energy to personal objectives that they've wanted to pursue for some time now. So that's a different learning. It just really depends on what your ultimate goals are. I wish there was just one really great universal do this, then this, like a formula.
Do
That's
this
my
and you're
jam.
done. I like that.
I mean, I'm a spreadsheet girl, so if you can build a formula for
Yeah.
all of this to be like line up perfectly, that would be great, but it just doesn't happen that way. Like it just doesn't.
No, and you're right. It obviously nothing stays static. So you're
Exactly.
constantly learning based on what you want. I love that response. We are at the tail end of our conversation. So what I want to make sure that I do is I think you have an offer, and I want to give you the floor so that you can tell us about it.
Of course. So, Pop Academy is really where you want to be. And there's 2 semesters. The first one is again, or the fall semester always starts in September, and the spring semester starts in January, just like a college course. And of
Mhm.
course, for any of your listeners, there is always a discounted rate that we'll put into the show notes, and we'll give you the code for that as well. It is really the foundation of understanding and learning more about you and your business and your goals as you grow. And I can't encourage you enough to just check it out. I make it very budget friendly because that's my whole MO is to really help you avoid the burnout by avoiding burning through cash.
And I highly recommend it too. Okay. So we're at the end of our conversation, but I also with at the very end, I love to ask this of all my guests because I am a bookworm and I've gotten a lot of inspiration from books that I've read. And I want to know what your favorite book of all time is.
Favorite book of all time. That is I am a huge bookworm. I read 3 or 4 books, like, at a time. I have to tell you, there's a few books that I leave that I read every year. They're on my list to read every year, and that's one is Atomic Habits. I just read it every year. There's so much information in it, like, I never can glean all of it just with one reading. So I
Uh-huh.
read Atomic Habits. The 4 Agreements. I read the 4 Agreements every year. It is a really quick read, and when I read it, I'm always in a different headspace. So for me, it's
Mhm.
applicable in that headspace. Those are 2 without a doubt. And then I do the Daily Stoic every day. And I am now on repeating it for the 2nd year. And the Daily Stoic, the author is Ryan Holiday, and it's your daily like reflection on just how you are putting effort into what is right in your business and personal life. And I really enjoy those reflections. So I would say those 3. Yes, there's a ton of business books. And yes, I love a good biography or autobiography. I could go on and on, but those are my 3 that I stick with on a consistent basis.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. All right. So, Carlin, thank you for being my guest on Diana Prince Lives Next Door. You are truly a Diana Prince for a lot of women out there. And I look forward to reading your posts in LinkedIn, in the community, and everything like that. So, thank you, thank you, thank you for being my guest.
You are welcome. And likewise,
Thank you for tuning into Diana Prince Lives Next Door. If you want to learn more about Carlin and Carlyn Bushman Consulting, be sure to visit the website in the description. And remember, this podcast is a testament to the Gal Project and Angela Atelier's mission to empower women to be present in their own lives and show up confidently and beautifully. Let's continue to support each other to step into our power and live our best lives. Until next time, this is Angela Acosta signing off.